$700 billion opportunity. And meanwhile, the SDGs could unlock at least $12 trillion in market opportunities across several sectors, with opportunities concentrated in developing countries. However, further support is needed to raise awareness of private sector with the opportunities available to contribute to NDCs and SDGs. We will present today business opportunities and corresponding climate and SDG frameworks identified in the energy, agriculture, and water sectors in selected countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. We will also talk about how digital tools can facilitate the engagement of private sector to design the business case for climate and SDG actions tailored to a national context, and how these tools can help businesses to monitor and manage their impact and connect with like-minded businesses across the world. So now, without any further ado, it's over to our first presenter, Raymond. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Alexandra, and the whole UNDP team, and welcome to everyone participating in this webinar. For today, we will be focusing on presenting the business opportunities for the private sector for climate action in the energy, agriculture, and water sectors in selected countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. I will start by giving you a quick background regarding our project, especially for those who were not able to attend the previous webinars. I will also present how reporting frameworks can help align business opportunities with the impact targets of nationally determined contributions and Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. I will then be handing the floor over to my colleague, Ms. Megumi Sato, who will present our main findings in the 7 countries on the investment opportunities in climate action and how these align with the NDCs and SDGs. Next 2 slides, please. Our project with UNDP is entitled NDC Private Sector Engagement Project, and it involves the assessment of private sector investment potential for delivering NDC targets in specific sectors across the 7 target countries. So specifically, these are the energy sector for Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Kenya, and Uganda, the agriculture sector for Paraguay and Philippines, and the water sector for Tunisia. The project was undertaken through document and literature review involving the examination of the NDCs and national strategies to identify NDC and sectoral targets, and the identification of enabling environment for private sector participation. The project also involved reaching out directly to the relevant key stakeholders to obtain direct information from them. So we held several interviews with the public sector, such as relevant sectoral ministries, government agencies, and regulatory authorities, and also with relevant private sector stakeholders, such as private sector associations and financial institutions. So from these consultations, we try to understand the current sectoral ecosystem and value chains, identify the current private sector involvement, identify the available financing, and identify the barriers and challenges that the stakeholders face in implementing climate actions. Now, based from these, we conducted our assessment and provided recommendations to address the identified barriers and challenges. Next slide, please. As Alexandra said, this webinar is the 3rd and last in a series of 3 webinars. And for this specific webinar, we will be presenting the key findings of our project, which are specific to the identified business opportunities that are linked with the target countries and NDCs and climate-related implementation strategies. So we would also be highlighting the importance of reporting frameworks and how the use of SDG tools, digital tools, and reporting frameworks could help the private sector. After the presentation of these findings, we actually included in our agenda an opportunity to interact with our panelists and have a discussion to hear directly from them on their thoughts and experiences in using the SDG tools and reporting frameworks and how these benefited them and or their respective organizations. Next, 2 slides, please. Okay, so moving forward with this presentation, the overarching objective of our project is to determine the investment opportunities for private sector participation in climate actions and how these could help the respective countries meet their climate targets. It is well acknowledged that engaging the private sector and leveraging their resources to invest in NDC actions will be key in achieving this. And at the same time, the NDCs themselves actually offer significant and actual business opportunities for the private sector. However, in most cases, the private sector is often unaware of those opportunities. So that is why it is important to highlight and translate these business opportunities into clear reporting frameworks, which the private sector can then leverage to enhance its understanding of the added value that comes with climate-related investments. A clear understanding of this alignment or the extent to which the private sector can align with NDC actions has its advantages. It would allow the private sector to clearly identify actionable climate actions, which can then be translated into business opportunities. Now, from the longer term perspective, adopting reporting frameworks is also the first step towards reporting and disclosing impacts on climate objectives and SDGs. So what does this mean for the private sector? Adopting a reporting framework can improve the valuation and credit scores for the private entity. With an established reporting framework and clear understanding of the impacts that their businesses have in addressing the country's climate challenges, this would open up better financing opportunities. So for example, impact investors and climate finance resources may be more interested and more comfortable providing financing to these well-informed private sector players. For our NDC private sector engagement project, we provided a reporting framework within our reports that the private sector may use as reference. So we encourage you to read through this if you have some time. The NDCs and SDGs have been chosen as the main reporting frameworks in the reports. And as such, the business opportunities identified throughout the reports are linked to NDC objectives and SDG targets. To provide the businesses more in-depth information, we also included clear metrics representing measurable key performance indicators into the reporting frameworks. The reporting frameworks developed, which are specific to the context of the target countries, are intended to be leveraged and tailored by individual businesses depending on the specific characteristics of each. And from here, I think it's time for me to hand the floor over to my colleague, Ms. Megumi Sato, to further present the reporting frameworks developed within our reports and how these align the business opportunities identified to the NDCs and SDGs. So over to you, Megumi.
Thank you, Raymond. So if you could go to 2 slides from here. Okay, thank you. So I'll be spending some time talking about investment opportunities we've identified in the 7 countries that we conducted our assessments in. So as mentioned earlier in previous slides, business opportunities can be linked to NDC objectives and SDG targets and include clear metrics to measure key performances. And in our reports, we've identified country-specific investment opportunities which are linked with achieving NDC commitments of respective target countries. And concurrently, the implementation of these business opportunities often result in important economic, social, and environmental co-benefits, thereby contributing to the achievement of sustainable development goals. It is important to lay out these information into a reporting framework for the private sector to capitalize on. So for Côte d'Ivoire, for example, business opportunities in the energy sector include those in the renewable energy, clean cooking, and transport subsectors. And for renewable energy, business opportunities identified include the development of on-grid renewable energy power generation and off-grid power generation at the small scale level, targeting households, and medium to large scale, targeting SMEs, commercial and industrial institutions. So from here, we can see that the development of on-grid renewable energy power generation presents the highest investment potential in Côte d'Ivoire, amounting to $7.2 billion US. This is estimated amount required to achieve the country's NDC target of increasing the share of renewable energy to 42% in the energy mix by 2030, which is quite an ambitious target. For Côte d'Ivoire's national Renewable Energy Action Plan, the government also provides information on the specific type of renewable energy technology and corresponding generation capacity targets that this would be coming from, such as from hydro, solar, and biomass. So from here, you can already see how the business opportunity is linked with the Côte d'Ivoire's NDC and renewable energy targets. In linking this business opportunity with SDGs, the implementation of on-grid renewable energy projects may contribute to the achievement of several SDGs. For direct impacts, it contributes to goal number 7, which is ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. This contributes to several outcomes, including ensuring universal access to affordable, modern energy services, and increase substantially in the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Having clear metrics resulting from the implementation of these projects and investments would provide both qualitative and quantitative basis on the impacts of these investments. For goal number 7, this includes reduced cost of energy, a renewable energy ratio in the energy mix, a number of households connected, number and value of investments, and total capacity installed. This type of investment also contributes to goal number 13, which is taking urgent actions to combat climate change through the accelerated decarbonization of the sector. And this could be demonstrated through the amount of direct emissions achieved through installation of renewable energy capacity. This also contributes to goal number 3, to ensure healthy lives and promoting well-being of all at all ages by substantially reducing the number of deaths and illnesses from chemicals, air, water, and soil pollution and contamination, and could be demonstrated by showing how much the investment results in the reduced ratio of fossil fuels used in the energy mix. This approach is applied throughout the identified business opportunities. So next slide, please. Continuing to business opportunities in the off-grid generation at the small scale level, targeting households, and medium to large scale, targeting SMEs, commercial and industrial institutions. These opportunities present private sector potential of $537 to $698 million to $46 million US for energy efficiency in achieving the country's NDC target. In promoting energy efficiency, the government aims to reduce a number of initiatives such as promoting energy efficiency in public lighting, strengthening energy management and savings in public buildings, and promoting energy efficiency in the industry sector, among other measures. Apologies. I think I went a slide in advance. Sorry, if you could go back quickly. Thank you. These business opportunities in the off-grid and energy efficiency subsector may also contribute to SDGs, such as goal number 7, ensuring access to affordable energy with metrics such as reduced cost of energy, reduced need for diesel generators to measure impacts of opportunities. Other contributions to SDGs include goal number 1, related to ending poverty in all forms, and goal number 2, to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrient and promote sustainable agriculture industry. And achievement of these SDGs can be measured using metrics such as number of households with solar home system kits, both in urban and rural areas, average of capacity installed by households, and number of SMEs and other productive enterprises with solar home system kits. Now moving on to the next slide, in the clean cooking subsector, business opportunities in achieving the NDC target include manufacturing of both improved cook stoves, which include LPG, and efficient fuels, and distributing clean cooking solutions. These opportunities contribute to achieving NDC targets to increase the share of population using solutions to 10% by 2030, and increasing the share of charcoal produced by efficient decarbonization technologies to 10% by 2030, and increasing the share of charcoal produced by efficient carbonization technologies to 16% by 2030, and increasing the share of population using modernized alternative cooking fuels to 90% by 2030. A total investment potential for these opportunities is estimated to be $4.6 million US. And implementing these business opportunities will further contribute to achieving SDGs related to affordable clean energy, combating climate change, life on land, and ending poverty, and achieving gender equality as co-benefits. Direct impact can be measured using metrics related to number of efficient stoves deployed, number of LPG stoves deployed, and number and value of loans developed directly by clean cooking solution providers. Co-benefits can be measured by using metrics such as number of households served in rural areas for efficient fuel, and volume of wood, fuel, or inefficient charcoal reused for cooking decreased. Moving to the next slide and discussing the business opportunity in the transport subsector for Côte d'Ivoire. These include infrastructure development and operation of BRT lines, aiming to contribute to country's NDC target to decrease greenhouse gas emissions by 28% by 2030. Private investment potential in these opportunities is estimated at $1.5 billion US. And similar to other subsectors, these opportunities also contribute to achieving a number of SDGs, such as goal number 7 on ensuring access to affordable and reliable energy for all, 11 on making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, and resilient, and goal 13 to taking urgent actions to combat climate change. Co-benefits include SDG goals number 3 to ensure healthy lives and promoting well-being for all. And some of the metrics that can be used to measure these impacts include number of lines, kilometers of BRT operational, number of users, decrease in personal vehicles traffic, reduced use of fossil fuels for personal vehicles, and direct carbon reduction achieved through installation of BRT lines. So those were business opportunities related to Côte d'Ivoire's energy sector, related to both NDC targets and contribution to SDGs. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to quickly highlight business opportunities identified for each country in the following slides. And as I mentioned earlier, a similar approach in identifying business opportunities and linking such opportunities to SDGs and NDC targets were performed for each country. So next slide on Ghana. For Ghana's energy sector, business opportunities identified in renewable energy relate to NDC targets to scale up renewable energy penetration by 10% by 2030. And private investment potential was estimated at approximately $306 million US to $1.2 billion for on-grid generation, and approximately $146 million for medium to large scale off-grid energy generation, and $45 million to $254 million US for small scale off-grid solutions for households. Such opportunities are linked to a number of SDGs similar to those already identified in Côte d'Ivoire's energy sector. Next slide. For clean cooking, business opportunities identified contribute to achieving the NDC target to expand the adoption of market-based cleaner cooking solution, with an overall investment potential of approximately $551 million US, with a number of SDGs contributions linked. Next slides. For energy efficiency and appliances subsector, business opportunities identified include distributing efficient appliances and manufacturing efficient appliances locally, with associated NDC target to introduce efficient lighting with LEDs, replacing CFLs with LEDs, and efficient refrigerators. Business opportunities are estimated to have investment potential of approximately $551 million US, with again a number of potential contributions to SDGs similar to those in Côte d'Ivoire. For BRT and transport subsector on the next slide, business opportunities contribute to achieving NDC target to scale up sustainable mass transportation with an investment potential of $1.5 billion US. Related SDGs, similar goals and metrics for use already identified for Cote d'Ivoire can be applied here as well. Moving on to Kenya on the next slide, and similar to Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, there are business opportunities related to on-grid and off-grid renewable energy generation in achieving the NDC target. For on-grid renewable energy generation, the investment potential was estimated to be $6.5 billion US, with no specific potential calculated for off-grid energy generation under this study. And similar to other countries presented just earlier, these opportunities have the potential to contribute to a number of SDGs. On the next slide, there are business opportunities related to energy efficiency in Kenya to enhance energy and resource efficiency. But again, no specific investment potential was estimated under this study. However, similar to Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, these opportunities do have the potential to contribute to a number of SDGs. Next slide on opportunities in the clean cooking subsector. Opportunities present an investment potential of approximately $169 million US and have similar related SDGs contributions as other subsectors and countries. Next slide on Uganda's energy sector business opportunities, similar to that of Kenya just presented earlier. There's an investment potential of approximately $882 million to $2.2 billion US for on-grid and approximately $1.08 million to $4.17 million US for off-grid generation. Next slide, similar to Kenya, Uganda's energy efficient subsector presents business opportunities related to distribution of energy efficient appliances, lighting and equipment, as well as providing energy audits and management system. While no specific investment potential was estimated here, similar to Kenya and other countries, these business opportunities present contributions to SDGs. Next slide, in the clean cooking subsector for Uganda, business opportunities present an estimated investment potential of $62.7 million US with similar SDG contributions, other subsectors and countries presented just earlier. Next slide, on transport subsector, there are two business opportunities presented with establishing vehicle recycling and assembly plants, as well as developing infrastructure for and operating BRT lines. Estimated investment potential is $301 million to $612 million. And similar to Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, these opportunities contribute to a number of SDGs as already presented earlier. Next slide, moving on to the agriculture sector in Paraguay. Soybean value chain has a business opportunity related to climate smart nutrient management, which helps to meet the country's NDC target of nutrient management for crops, introduction of technologies with mitigation co-benefits, encouraging sustainable modernization of farms, and to develop financial incentives for producers according to the sustainable practices implemented. These opportunities have an investment potential of approximately $690 million US and contributes to SDGs related to ending hunger and poverty, tackling climate change, and promoting inclusive economic growth and building resilience infrastructure as direct impact. Illustrative metrics identified include a number and value of climate smart equipment and services deployed, increase in income of smallholders and commercial producers, decrease in cost of fertilizer use, and volume of nitrogen fertilizers used for soybean production, among others. Next slide, for the livestock value chain, the opportunities identified relate to improving the productivity of the livestock herd. The opportunity contributes to the NDC target to improve the diet of livestock, increase the productivity by unit of surface, and develop financial incentives for producers. This opportunity has an investment potential of approximately $865 million US and contributes to SDGs related to ending hunger and poverty, tackling climate change, among others, as direct impact, and promoting good health and responsible consumption and production as co-benefits. Illustrative metrics include the number of producers with improved diet management, number of heads livestock benefiting from improved diets, and direct estimated carbon reduction achieved, among others. Next slide for the Philippines. Business opportunities were also assessed for the agriculture sector. In the crop production value chain, there's an opportunity that contributes to NDC target to reduce the use of synthetic fertilizer in rice production. And this presents an investment potential of approximately 103 million to 206 million US dollars in organic and inorganic fertilizers, 2.13 million to 6.4 million in AWD in rice production, and approximately 135 to 270 million US dollars in crop diversification. Related to SDGs, similar contributions as Paraguay can be highlighted for this subsector. On the next slide, in the livestock value chain, the business opportunities related to the use of biodigesters, which contribute to achieving the NDC target increase in the amount of swine waste handled in biodigesters. The opportunity presents an investment potential of approximately 82 million to 90 million dollars and contributes to achieving similar SDGs as those presented in Paraguay. Illustrative metrics for use include direct estimated carbon reduction achieved through wastewater treatment and methane capture, and direct estimated carbon reduction achieved through the use of renewable biogas for energy, among others. Next slide, moving on to Tunisia. The sector prioritized was water, with business opportunities in large-scale desalination. Opportunities include development of large-scale infrastructure projects for desalination and wastewater treatment plants to contribute to achieving NDC targets related to improving and securing water supplies and transferring and reusing treated wastewater. These offer investment potential of approximately 870 million to 534 million US dollars respectively. Contributions to SDGs include access to clean water and sanitation, taking urgent action against climate change, building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization and fostering innovation, and ending hunger, among others, as direct impact. And as for co-benefits, SDG goal number 3 on ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all can be identified. Illustrative metrics include a number of households connected, number and value of investments, and total capacity installed, among others. Next slide for business opportunities related to small-scale infrastructure projects contributing to similar NDC targets just mentioned earlier, in addition to optimizing the tourism sector's management of water resources. In achieving these NDC target, there's an investment potential of approximately 131 to 585 million US dollars for improving and securing water supplies, and approximately 307 million US dollars for installing mini seawater desalination plants. These further contribute to SDGs such as goal number 6 on ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, taking action against climate change, promoting sustained inclusive economic growth, and ending hunger and ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable energy as direct impacts. For co-benefits, co-benefits include ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all. And illustrative metrics identified include a number of hotels served by small-scale desalination plants, number and value of investment, and total capacity installed, among others. Now, these summarizes the findings from the 7 countries in scope under this assignment related to business opportunities achieving their respective countries and sectors NDC targets, and contribution to achieving SDG targets, with metrics that are available to be used in the reporting framework to more clearly track progress. Now I would like to turn the floor to UNDP to lead our panel discussion for today. This would allow us to hear from key stakeholders themselves on their experience and using reporting framework, and share with us how they benefit from using reporting frameworks in achieving climate actions. So now over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Megumi, Raymond. That was a very informative presentation, and to echo a term we frequently use here at UNDP, a lot to unpack, a lot to look at and analyze further. But so for the moment, you've kindly also provided questions for our panelists, which we'll go to right now. For those who have been joining us a bit late, we apologize. There was a bit of a hiccup with the link. The recording will be available, and we'll try our best to answer your questions in the chat or after the presentation if need be. So now we will. Could you please, Sophie, share the screen with the questions? Thank you very much. So I won't go through, I will leave it to you to read the questions, but the first question I will turn it up to my colleague now, Gloria. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. The first question, of course, is to give a context in terms of how the business case for the private sector was done in Uganda to engage in the implementation and of the SDGs and the NDC using the training that has been done on the SDG and NDC impact assessment tool. I'm going to give briefly a highlight of what we've done and how this was received and how we are moving forward. First of all, I would like to say that this also relates to what Mon and Saito have presented. But in Uganda, what we've realized and what we've done is develop the specific business case for the private sector to engage in climate action. Of course, climate action in terms of the SDGs and also on the NDC, the National Determined Contribution for Uganda, because you know that the NDC for Uganda is a crucial framework in terms of enabling the country meet its commitments under the Paris Agreement. And of course, as you know, right now, all countries are coming up with new NDCs. So the role of the private sector in the implementation of the actions within the NDCs is very significant, previously in the old NDC, but also in the current NDC. I want to say that the engagement of the private sector in Uganda in terms of the climate change adaptation and mitigation actions has been a big priority for the country. And first, because financing of the government's budget is really focusing a lot on the private sector. How the private sector can contribute towards the public budget is a crucial aspect that the government is really looking at. And we're also aware that the risks that climate change pose to the private sector in terms of operations, in terms of the supply chains, are significant. Hence, there is a need for the private sector to adapt business models that are more resilient and are more profitable, because we know that most of the time, and we know very well that the private sector is driven by the profits. So what we did in Uganda is we did a survey together, of course, in collaboration with the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and also in collaboration with a digital tech firm called Impacti. And you'll see that Yolanda, in her brief presentation, she will elaborate a bit on further on what we have done. So we did a survey in 35 companies to identify the business opportunities that there are in the NDC for Uganda and the SDGs. And from this survey, we realized that, of course, most of the business opportunities have been highlighted in the energy sector. We looked at across the board on a number of sectors, ranging from renewable energy, from infrastructure, manufacturing, waste utilities, and transport, among others. So we looked at all the different sectors across the SDGs and the NDCs. But we got to know that from this survey, 85% of the companies expressed their interest within the energy sector. And of course, this also is in line with SDG 7, of course, but also we realize that the greatest potential is in energy, but also, of course, climate action. SDG 13 was very significant. And when you look at Uganda's energy targets within the NDC, we are looking at increasing renewable energy generation. We are looking at energy efficiency in the biomass sector, in the industry sector, and of course, increasing off-grid energy solutions like solar uptake. And this also, you realize that these are the findings that have been presented in this survey that Deloitte has undertaken. So we realized that there's a close alignment between these different surveys that have been undertaken. And in the context of Uganda, the private sector is very keen to expand renewable energy generation, promote solar uptake, energy efficiency, biomass, but also across the other sectors like agriculture, transport, health. There are quite a number of business opportunities that the private sector has really identified. For instance, in agriculture, we are looking at climate smart agriculture solutions like irrigation, drought resilient technologies, and more of that. You'll see that in the elaborated reports, which we can share for those that are interested. So how was this perceived? We find that the private sector in Uganda has been motivated by mainly saving the costs. Of course, many of the companies want to save costs. They want to make their operations more efficient, and they also want to increase their profit margin. So these are the key drivers for the private sector to invest in green growth, in climate action, and the SDGs in the context of Uganda. And what does this mean for their businesses? So we're looking at integrating their business models. Of course, the issue of access to climate finance has been very significant among all the interactions we've done with the private sector. We've had a series of trainings with the private sector, and also the issue on reporting is very crucial. How do they report and track their contributions, and how can they connect and create partnerships with like-minded businesses? So we engaged Impacti to develop this online digital reporting tool, which Yolanda will give more details. And this tool has enabled companies to assess their sustainability operations, to drive their, to come up with their sustainability goals in terms of the contributions towards the NDC and the SDG actions. And also what we've also seen is the government is very keen to align the reporting from the private sector to the national reporting processes. So UNDP is supporting the government to come up with a monitoring, reporting, and verification tool for the NDC. And part of this MRV tool is going to look at how we track contributions from the private sector. How do we realize the climate finance is trickling down to the private sector, and how is the private sector contributing towards the achievement of the NDC targets and the SDGs. So this MRV tool is one of the instruments that we are using to drive forward private sector contributions, and also using the digital reporting tool that we've developed with Impact to enable companies be able to create partnerships, be able to access climate finance, be able to address the barriers and risks to investment. And also we know very well right now with COVID, I think this is one of the biggest challenges for the private sector in terms of partnerships, in terms of creating business opportunities and business models that are viable for investment. So I'd like to stop at this point, and thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, JB.
Thanks, Gloria, for that recap. So without further ado, over to you, Yolanda, for a quick response to the second question.
Okay, thanks, JB. The question there being, I'll just read it out. Can you provide us with more information on the Impacti tool, the progress in Uganda, and also the how it can improve reporting from businesses on SDGs and NDCs? So next slide. This just gives an overview of exactly what Gloria has talked about. I wanted to thank her for describing our collaborations together with PSFU. And with that covered, I'll focus my intervention on the part of the question about our reporting framework and how it can enhance investment towards climate actions in the SDGs. So next slide, please, JB. Just a brief introduction to Impacti. We're a global tech company focused on creating digital tools to solve the growth and the market access problems faced by businesses with a focus on SMEs. Our experts have developed many digital tools, including the UNDP Climate Action Impact Tool, the KITE tool that Alex will speak about later in this webinar. But this question asks about our flagship and most recent digital tool. It's an impact reporting tool for sustainable businesses. I saw a question from Rita Rukundo, hoping that this may provide an answer to your question you posed earlier on what's a feasible way to capture private sector actions in NDCs and SDGs. And I think the chat today for me would be, yes, the Impactee tool helps to track it at a company level. And you'll hear from Alex about the KITE tool that really tracks at a project by project model. So the Impactee tool is designed to bring locally relevant SDG frameworks, like the one presented here today, to life, without imposing new reporting burdens on SMEs, without any reward. As often certifications and checklists do, they create more reporting burdens on those SMEs. So in so doing it, we designed it to solve those major challenges or pain points of both SMEs that do good and the entities that want to work with or invest in them. So we see sort of this chasm. The platform was designed to build this split, this disconnection between, on one side, the many SMEs who are interested in adopting business models that contribute to the SDGs and the NDCs. You see that on the left on the screen. In fact, there are many businesses already making positive impact, yet unrecognized. On the other side, there's this rapidly growing ecosystem of markets, financing opportunities, and projects searching for exactly these types of companies. And especially in this COVID era and amidst all these calls to build back better. So yes, this includes countries looking to engage the private sector in NDC investments, the topic of today's webinar. But not just that. These companies can be ideal candidates for green and sustainable loan instruments, impact investors, companies looking for sustainable suppliers, UN and international projects, grants, and much more. So why is it so hard to connect these two sides? We saw 3 levels of failures when we looked into this. First, that these companies often fail to hear about the opportunities. Second, when they do, let's be realistic. How many SMEs have the extra time and resources on their hand to understand and meet the requirements for every potential opportunity while running their core business? Third, even for those who do try, they may not effectively communicate their impact in a way that qualifies them for these opportunities. They're under demand to show metrics that investors understand, back those metrics with data, and show an ongoing track record. So the platform, the Impactee platform, we work to knock down these challenges or pain points one by one. So first of all, these metrics that people will understand. And that is where consistently the Sustainable Development Goals and NDCs are coming forward as a sort of common language for sustainability. We translated the SDGs into business language. It's an ever-growing set of impact opportunities, business actions, and KPIs. And we've made that framework available in the Explore assessment tool and Connect online network for businesses that Ugandan businesses, together with Gloria, UNDP, and PSFU, our collaboration has brought those tools to this community. So businesses on our platform have said that they value this because now they can actually show how their local actions make a globally relevant impact in ways that people understand. And this to them is better than chasing endless certifications. They're taking control of their impact stories and making them meaningful to their specific business operations. The second pain point, that challenge, was what about the data and the track record that they must show? And this is our newest tool, actually, Manage. It's our most powerful tool. It guides companies to learn about and do impact reporting. It has internal learning pages and then offers libraries of over 2,000 what we call business actions, and then KPIs or indicators for monitoring SDG and NDC contributions, answering the questions of what to do and how to measure it. Businesses can use the platform not just to learn, but actually actively upload their impact data year to year with supporting documents, notes, comments to explain the data, and improve the communications year by year. Finally, time. Who has the time? So this is really 2 problems. The time it takes for companies on one hand of that chasm to repeatedly fill out requirements, and the time it takes for investors and governments, others, to discover and assess these companies. The tool Impactee platform solves that by providing for companies on one hand, this one central online hub to store their impact data year to year and design custom reports for different audiences. And on the other side, For investors, governments, the big power here is the ability to aggregate data and sort it by sectors, by KPIs, SDGs, whatever metric you're interested in. You can find a set of companies working in the area quickly and understand the scale of impact being made across that community. So ultimately, the platform is intended and built to be an all-in-one platform to help SMEs take and be rewarded for SDG and climate actions. It's a digital framework that can drive action in any SDG or NDC area. Take, for example, the framework presented today by Deloitte. It's great work. It offers a locally relevant impact framework. And this is the way sustainability is heading, away from long general checklists, instead focusing on where companies can make real impact that matters. How this could practically be used is first, this Uganda-specific framework can be integrated into our global SDG business opportunity framework. In fact, we're prioritizing partnerships with organizations and investors that are doing this localization of SDGs and NDCs and looking for a bottom-up or business-driven approach to engagement of the private sector. Second, companies on the platform can then register the commitment to these opportunities and progress on the KPIs, showing how their actions contribute to both Ugandan and globally relevant goals. Finally, data can be aggregated and reported to inform investment and policy decisions. JB, perhaps the next slide. It can be linked to the NDC MRV tool mentioned by Gloria. Companies can also do their own impact reporting. Importantly, finally, companies can also add and crowdsource their ideas for business opportunities and KPIs, growing the framework that was presented today, so that it becomes dynamic and market-driven rather than static and dated. On what's next, we as a company are already moving to grow our platform with new tools for SMEs to manage the carbon footprint and gender impact. I'll stop here, other than to invite anyone interested. JB, next slide, please. To contact me or check out a free trial of the digital platform available now. Our website also has a blog we developed together with a Ugandan company that is championing SDG 12, Oribag's innovation. The links for all of that in my email are on the screen today. Thank you so much for listening and look forward to any questions.
Thank you very much, Yolanda, for that the presentation. Colleagues, I realize we're at the hour, but I will please ask for your permission to continue a bit over, given that, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this will be recorded. And so I'll pass it on to Kenneth now, and right after that to Dorian and Alexandra in short succession. So if I may ask you all to be brief, please, then we could perhaps have time for a couple of questions. Over.
Thank you very much. I'll really be brief. I've been asked to reflect, and I don't have any slides to share. I've been asked to share about just the merits of identifying, evaluating, and reporting on impact measurement metrics in relation to climate actions. I mean, as an investor and as an entity that manages investment funds, we really see the merits of identifying, evaluating, and reporting on impact in very many areas, but I'll just showcase two examples. One is around revenue growth, where we find that by understanding our investees' customers, so their context or socioeconomic status or access to services and preferences related to products and services that some of the companies we invest in provide, we are able to help these businesses drive revenue growth in a number of ways. So this helps us to help our businesses, first of all, segment the customers they deal with, and therefore provide effective marketing to access new markets. Just as an example, as Otis Africa Capital, through the 97 Fund, we have invested in a business called Famunera, whose business model is around supporting rural farmer households through a cooperative or agency model by providing traceability of farming inputs, linking those farmer households to markets through off-takers and contract farming, and providing crop weather insurance. And all this is integrated on a single mobile application. However, when we came in to invest and we looked at the impact they were creating, we noted that with a mobile application that is working on mostly smartphones, the reach and the impact they could have was a bit limited. So our intervention in terms of investment was to help them by incorporating what we call USSD, or a feature phone that enables them to deliver their services through, say, text messages. And in the process, just improved and increased the impact they are creating, especially related to SDG 1, no poverty, and then supporting SDG 2 and SDG 8. So that is an example of just some of the benefits from identifying, evaluating, and being able to report on impact. The second one, which is at the heart of our business model as Autos Africa Capital, is around when we are finding and trying to place capital from investors. It's very important that we're able to demonstrate that we can screen and identify investees based on certain metrics for impact investing. And in our case, we tend to use a custom set of metrics that may be driven by the investors we are working with at the time. But through this process, we're able to screen and identify investees that focus on certain areas. For example, youth and women creating jobs at scale. And through that, we're able to identify specific sectors for investment. For example, agriculture, the future of work, transport and logistics. Through this, we've been able to see that there are certain sectors that are then of focus and interest to investors. In addition, we think these contribute more towards meeting the SDGs and towards climate action and towards nationally determined contributions. So those are two areas where just there are merits of identifying, evaluating, and reporting on impact metrics. There are other areas that I won't go into detail, but areas around, again, operational effectiveness and efficiency. So you can use the data measured to improve operational effectiveness and efficiency at the levels of investee companies. Of course, marketing and reputation building. So both for the companies or the private businesses that are invested in, and this has already been mentioned, to help them with entry into new markets or earning trust with stakeholders or raising additional capital. And then the last one is just around how you align your strategy and mitigate risks. So when you measure impact and when you measure contribution to SDGs, you're ensuring that everyone is just aligned with the mission and strategy, and you're able to mitigate risk, not just from impact, but also financial concerns. And there is now in the investor environment and market an appreciation for returns other than just financial. And investments that are aligned to ESG have shown themselves to be resilient actually in these times and from the impacts of COVID-19. I'll beg to stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Now on to Dorian, please, if you have comments and answers.
Hi, everyone. We are a Costa Rican company. And this time I am sending to everything. Let me a link. I'm sending to everything a link for the video for our impact assessment report, where we explain everything about us and about the impact. Polymer is a Costa Rican company with a vision for more efficient energy systems, and we have developed an eco-friendly thermal insulator for buildings to significantly boost energy efficiency. And for this, we won the third prize in the responsible production and consumption category, the Green Latin America Awards held in 2019. Also, thanks to the partnership between the Green Latin America Awards Foundation and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, throughout the Partnership for Action on Green Economy, page, we obtain expert advice for the preparation of a SDG impact report that assess the impact that our polymer insulation product is having on the sustainable development goals. UNDP conducted the SDG impact assessment with the KATE tool, which let us know which of the SDGs we impact and how we do it. Following the preparation of the impact report, we are committed to frequently update the inputs and generate updated impact assessment report every 6 months. This way, we'll be able to demonstrate the continuation of our positive impacts. We want to reach customer in the construction, trade, industry, education, health, tourism, and government sectors that want to take steps towards sustainability with our technology. Furthermore, we promote the impact report and the benefits of sustainable practices with our distributors and local partners, NGOs, social funds, and sustainable projects, all of whom share the same desire to advance the implementation of the 2030 agenda. The impact report helped us to create interest with these organizations, such as with Caritas Costa Rica, which is our social ally, but also with private companies. Private companies are now increasingly using our technology in their roof. For example, in 2021, we will start a project for 60,000 square meters for a free zone that will save $7 million in direct cost of air conditioner equipment, in addition to the energy saving and equipment maintenance. Throughout the SDG impact assessment, we are now sensitized and are planning to develop a campaign for public or private institutional investment to bring our solution to those most in need and to position the SDG concept at the higher level before the public. Our bigger visibility has also led to nomination for the 5th Global Entrep Awards, which was opened in 25 September 2020 at the General Assembly of the United Nations, UNGA 75. And we are working very hard to develop new technologies and new solutions for different new sectors that are needing our technologies. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dorian. So, Alexandra, may I invite you to briefly make some remarks before we conclude?
Yeah, no, I will briefly talk about the KAIT tool, if I still may. I will be brief. So what we saw is that the significant barrier for private sector is the lack of access to reliable data on the social and environmental returns on investments, which made it really difficult for both individual and corporate investors to value the contributions of their investments. A recent study, for example, by PricewaterhouseCoopers showed that only 13% of the corporate investors have access to reliable data, making it really difficult to identify investment opportunities with high levels of impact. And to address this concern, UNDP has developed the Climate Action Impact Tool, or KAIT tool, to provide investors and project developers an opportunity to obtain information about the social and environmental impacts of their investments and allow them to make informed decisions about which initiatives to support. The tool has been applied in partnership with the crowd-financing platform Trine to assess the SDG impacts of the projects promoted on their platform. And an analysis done by Trine has shown that UNDP's impact assessment with the KAIT tool has increased the investors' willingness to invest by 129%, and the actual investment on the Trine platform by 42%, and the investment size by 32%. So the tool applied in Trine projects allows project developers to monitor their progress towards the expected impacts and to take corrective actions where necessary. This will in turn result in increased levels of trust between investors, the platform, and the projects, with the objective to increase the levels of investment channeled to projects with the highest potential impact on beneficiaries. And a link between the NDCs and SDGs can also be made through the incorporation of the tool in national digital MRV systems, which allows users to track not only progress towards the Paris Agreement, but also the SDGs and Agenda 2030. Gloria mentioned this in her presentation. So this link has been established in a couple of countries already, in Vanuatu, in Kenya, Uganda, and now in the Gambia. An important aspect of these national integrated virtual MRV tools is mapping the SDG impacts from the NDC actions. And the countries can then effectively track progress and report its GHG emissions and SDG impacts on NDC mitigation and adaptation actions. We have recently conducted a KITE webinar and presented concrete applications in Kenya and Costa Rica, as mentioned also by Dorian. And we will include this link to the previous webinar in the package of information, which we will share after the webinar. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra, and thanks to all our panelists for their really insightful presentations. In concluding, let us apologize once again for the late start and going over time. Sadly, we won't have much time for the Q&A, but if you have any remaining questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to Sophie, Alexandra, and myself, and as well as to the panelists and the presenters who've provided their contact details. But we're happy also to contribute our answers and comments. Okay, so without further ado, thanks once again, everybody, and we'll see you perhaps in other iteration of this webinar series. Who knows? Over to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes,
Right,
I know,
bye-bye.
darling. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.